Good evening from Johannesburg. My name is Tembeka Ngcukaitobi. I'm an advocate. Welcome to Let's Have It Out. Tonight and every weeknight here on ENCA, a variety of newsmakers will get their chance to host this program. We'll give you, the viewer, a chance to get involved in the conversation. Unfiltered, accountable, and accessible. South Africa is at the cusp of far-reaching amendments to the laws on land expropriation without compensation. Zimbabwe has been through this route with devastating economic consequences. How can South Africa avoid the pitfalls of land reform? That's what we'll be debating tonight. You can be a part of this conversation. Here is how.
Tweet us at ENCA using the hashtag LHIO. Call us on 011-759-6340 or send us a WhatsApp or WhatsApp video on 082-884-6370. And make sure those videos are no longer than 30 seconds, please.
I'm joined now in studio by ZANU-PF Spokesperson in South Africa, Kennedy Mandaza. Good evening, Kennedy, and thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Tembeka, and good evening to the viewers.
Before I get to the question of the land, does Zimbabwe, its government and ZANU-PF believe in the rule of law?
Yes, we do. ZANU-PF and the government believe in the rule of law.
Yes. Now, in the recent elections, a colleague of mine, Mpofu, and myself were instructed by the MDC to appear on its behalf. Why was it considered appropriate by Ziambi to exclude us?
I would like to believe that when all things are said and done, you would be in a better position to understand the manner in which the legal fraternity is run in South Africa as well as in Zimbabwe. And we would like to believe that Ziambi, the Minister of Justice then, looked at all issues pertaining to how the legal system operates in the two countries as well as in Zimbabwe, and applied his mind to make sure that whatever was supposed to be done was accorded due respect. And we believe that he did the right thing.
Do you agree with him?
It's not a question of me agreeing with him, but it is a matter of him having applied the statutes as they apply to the Zimbabwean legal system.
Well, I'm asking you, is it fair that the MDC that's contesting the outcome of elections does not have the benefit of the lawyers of their choice, but ZANU-PF does?
I would like to believe that Tembeka and Mpofu, who were in Zimbabwe for a very long period of time, had the opportunity to interact with the legal team that was representing Nelson Chamisa. And what they did not have the chance to do was to argue in the Constitutional Court. But I would like to believe that during the period of their stay, they applied their minds to the issues that were at stake and gave the right, what they deemed to be right advice to the head of the legal team, who was Mpofu.
One of the points that was made by the presidential candidate then and the current president, Mr. Mnangagwa, was a promise to stop the multiple ownership of farms and a promise to return farms that were taken during the 2000s. Do you agree with that decision?
That's the decision that was applauded by the majority of the people in ZANU-PF, in fact, the majority of the people in the country. Because ever since the land reform program started taking place, the idea was to make sure that one man gets one farm. But because of the manner in which it was done at that particular time, people took advantage of what was happening and possibly ended up allocating themselves many farms. So this is the time that the government, under the stewardship of President Mnangagwa, should make sure that the issue of land is regularized, to make sure that individuals remain with one piece of land which they can afford to till and turn it into productivity.
Of course, the most controversial aspect is the fact that undertakings were given to white farmers. Does ZANU-PF regret the land reform program of the 2000s under Robert Mugabe?
We do not regret the land reform program at all, and we are not apologetic about it because it was the issue for which so many lives were lost during the liberation struggle. People went to for the liberation struggle in order to bring back their identity, which they had lost during the time when land was forcibly taken from them. So when there was some form of dilly-dallying within the government and also dilly-dallying amongst the white community, which had promised to compensate, to assist in providing funds to compensate the white farmers, the majority of the black people in Zimbabwe found it prudent to make sure to go onto the farms and seize what they thought was what they believe is theirs.
But the fact that you are now going back on the land reform shows that it was haphazard, it was corrupt, and that the wrong people ended up with farms that they should not have. Won't you agree?
We are not going back on the land reform program at all. The land reform program is done and finished, and it is within the Constitution that it will not be reversed. What we are doing right now through the establishment of the Land Commission is to make sure that we rationalize the issue of the ownership of land, making sure that people remain with one farm, and besides that, the size of the farm should also be dependent on the ability of the person to produce. But most importantly, the issue of land is not only based on the economic aspect of it, but it also considers the historical injustices that were there before, including also we look at the human rights violations and the restoration of the human dignity, which is found through the ownership of land. And we believe that as ZANU-PF, we have done the best that we could do under the circumstances.
One thing I need to get a clear answer to. It so happened that people who should not have received multiple farms got multiple farms. And that's why President Mnangagwa is reversing that. And I'm putting to you that it was because of the haphazard and corrupt nature of land reform in Zimbabwe that individuals got more farms than they deserved.
To a certain extent, yes, we admit. That's why we have said we are now going through the route of using the Land Commission to make sure that we rationalize that. It is after seeing the anomalies that took place during the fast-track land reform, because some of the things that happened during that time were not anticipated at all. But we ended up accommodating people at a time when we thought that people would look at what exactly they should get in terms of their potential. But some of the people took the land for speculative purposes, and it is now time that we do not allow people to continue to have land for speculative purposes, because we want to make sure that Zimbabwe returns back to its status as the breadbasket of Africa.
Stay with us as we continue the conversation after the break. Make sure to use the hashtag LHIO on social media.